I wore navy blue because Gregory always said black drained the color from my face. 37 years of marriage had taught me small obedience, even in mourning. I stood by the mahogany urn on the velvet pedestal, my hands trembling as our grown children, Amelia and Tom, held back tears. They thought their father had been a faithful man. I thought so too, until that morning. She was the first. A tall, willowy woman with a silver streak in her dark hair. She arrived at the church with a solemn grace, dressed in a black dress that skimmed her ankles and wore sunglasses far too big for her face. She didn't look at me. She walked straight to the front, kissed her fingers, and pressed them against the urn. Then she whispered, "Goodbye, my love." I frowned. I didn't know her. She wasn't family. Not a colleague. Not from his university board. When I approached her gently and asked, "Excuse me, who are you?" she turned with tears in her eyes and said, "I'm his wife." At first, I thought she was mentally unstable. Until she showed me a ring exactly like mine, rose gold, etched with April 12th, 1986 on the inside. My wedding date. Before I could respond, another woman stepped forward. Then another. And another. All dressed in black. All wearing the same ring. All claiming to be Mrs. Gregory Voss. By the time the service began, 6 women sat in the front row, each one believing they were the only one. I stood at the podium like a ghost, delivering a eulogy to a man I no longer recognized. I talked about his laughter, his dedication, the way he fixed the porch light even when his back was bad. But the words felt like glass in my mouth. What was I even saying? Who had I buried? After the guests left, the 6 of us stayed. We sat in the church's empty lounge, staring at each other in silence. Laura was the youngest, barely 30. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Eleanor was the oldest, regal and composed, but her fingers shook as she clutched her handbag. Then there was May, fiery and bitter. Sabine, quiet and observant. Dana, pregnant and pale as chalk. I was the only one with grown children. The only one who had filed taxes with Gregory. The only one who legally married him. Or so I believed. Until Eleanor said something that made my stomach turn. Gregory told me he was never married. That his first wife died in a car crash. The car crash happened. Yes, but I survived it. I realized in that moment, Gregory used parts of my life as lies for the others. He took my grief and sold it to them as truth. We had all lived versions of a fantasy he created, isolated from each other by his careful design. But something was wrong. Laura said her joint account with Gregory had been drained 2 days before his death. Dana claimed their life insurance policy was under someone else's name. May said her business had been transferred without her consent. And Sabine, she never spoke. Just listened. Eleanor, sharp as ever, said it first. He didn't just cheat. He robbed us. That's when we agreed to meet again. Secretly. No one else could know. Not the lawyers. Not our children. Not even the bank. We were going to uncover the truth together. But I should have known, even in death, Gregory had the upper hand. Because one of us wasn't there to find justice. She was there to keep his secrets buried. We met again 4 nights later, in the back room of a dusty bookshop Eleanor owned. It was the kind of place no one paid attention to anymore, especially not the authorities or lawyers sniffing around Gregory's estate. That was exactly why we chose it. The room smelled of old paper and pipe tobacco. We didn't speak at first. Just stared at one another, this unlikely collection of betrayed women, each holding a different version of the same lie. We didn't know what to call ourselves. Wives? Widows? Victims? May finally broke the silence. So, who's going to admit they saw the signs? No one moved. No one spoke. Exactly, she said bitterly. We were all blind. Eleanor opened a slim notebook and placed it on the table between us. I started digging through his documents. Bank statements. Property deeds. Tax records. There are companies registered in all our names. Loans. Shell accounts. Some of us are in serious legal danger. Dana looked sick. How much money are we talking about? Millions, Eleanor whispered. And if the IRS decides we were complicit, we'll go down with him. I finished for her. The silence that followed was suffocating. Laura's voice was barely a whisper. "But he's dead." That's when Sabine finally spoke, for the first time. "Is he?" All eyes turned to her. She sat straight, hands folded, her accent faintly Eastern European. Her voice was calm. Too calm. There was no body. Just ashes. Certified by a private doctor. No coroner's report. No fingerprints. No DNA. Just a death certificate and a conveniently cremated corpse. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "You're saying the ashes might not be him?" "I'm saying," she replied evenly, "he could have paid someone to disappear. Faked his death. And if he did, one of us probably helped him." Dana let out a frightened gasp. "Why would he do that?" "Because," Eleanor said grimly, "he was about to be exposed. I found a pending federal investigation tied to one of the shell companies. He knew time was up. Faking death is easier than prison." May slammed her hand on the table. "So which one of us is the snake?" No one answered. But the tension was thick and suspicion hung over us like smoke. I watched Sabine carefully. Her face was serene, but there was something wrong in her stillness. A calm that didn't belong in a room full of grieving, furious women. Her hands never fidgeted. Her eyes never darted. I remembered something Gregory once told me. The best liars are the ones who never overact. They stay quiet. They blend in. "Sabine," I said, cautiously, "how long were you married to him?" She turned to me with a soft smile. 15 years. "Children?" "No." "Did he ever talk about the rest of us?" She shook her head. "Never." It was then that Dana blurted, "Wait, I saw someone watching my house yesterday. A man in a gray van." I thought it was just paranoia. That sent the room into quiet panic. May pulled out a folder. I printed out copies of his offshore accounts. "Look at the dates. The transfers began after his supposed death." "He's alive," Eleanor confirmed, stone-faced. "And he's still moving money." I leaned forward, my voice low. "Then we need to do 2 things. 1, find out where he is. And 2, figure out which one of us is helping him." We agreed to split up the work. Dana would follow the financials. Eleanor would handle the legal end. May would trace properties. Laura, bless her, offered to check digital trails, emails, cloud storage, old social profiles. I volunteered to look into the private doctor who signed the death certificate. Sabine volunteered for nothing. And yet, she smiled. A small, empty smile that didn't reach her eyes. As I walked out into the damp night, something gnawed at my chest, not just the betrayal, the loss, or the horror of it all. It was this one, pulsing truth I couldn't ignore. Gregory might have been the devil. But devils don't rise without help. And one of us had blood on her hands. The morning after our secret meeting, I drove to the address listed on Gregory's death certificate. It belonged to a small, nondescript house tucked between 2 warehouses on the outskirts of town. A single name was scribbled beside the signature of the certifying doctor, Dr. Charles Evanson. He was a ghost. No website. No medical license I could verify. No practice address. Just a mailbox on a dead-end road and a phone number that rang straight to voicemail. It felt wrong, deliberately so. Gregory didn't leave loose ends unless he wanted them found. And this felt like a trail he'd left behind with a smirk. I left my car running as I stepped onto the uneven porch. The mailbox was unlocked. Inside, old magazines, a grocery store coupon booklet, and a prescription pad. Blink. I snapped a photo with my phone and turned to leave. But as I reached the steps, something in the gravel caught my eye. A ring. The same design. Rose gold. April 12th, 1986. My date. But it wasn't mine. And it hadn't just fallen there, it had been tossed. Scuffed. The edge slightly bent. As if someone had thrown it away, or fought to keep it. I took it, slipped it into my coat, and drove away. I called Eleanor first. She answered on the second ring. "I just got back from the courthouse," she said breathlessly. "The will that Gregory left? It's fake." "What?" "There are 2, one filed, one hidden in his personal safe. The filed one names Dana as the sole beneficiary. The hidden one splits everything between you, me, and a fake charitable trust. That doesn't make sense. Unless he wanted to start a war between us." Keep us distracted. I told her about the ring. Her silence chilled me. Do you think Dana's working with him? I don't know. But that prescription pad? I checked the number. It's a real DA number, but it was stolen from a hospice doctor 2 years ago. Gregory had it forged, meaning he had control over a fake doctor who certified a fake death, she finished grimly. And we fell for it. As we spoke, my phone buzzed with another call. I frowned Laura. I switched lines. Laura. Her voice was shaky. Helena. Someone just tried to break into my apartment. My heart stopped. Are you okay? I'm hiding in the stairwell. I saw a shadow under my door and someone jiggling the handle. He didn't force it. Just tried it like he knew what was inside. Did you call the police? Not yet. I didn't know if it was just a fluke. It's not, I said firmly. It's him. Or someone working for him. She sobbed quietly. What does he want? Silence, I whispered. Or a distraction. I texted Eleanor. Gregory is watching us. Laura's in danger. We need to regroup. She replied instantly, come to my place. Now. Bring the others. That evening, we gathered again, -1. Sabine didn't show. We waited. We called. Nothing. May paced the floor. She was always too calm. Always too quiet. She knew he might still be alive, Dana said nervously. She was the first to suggest it. She was also the only one who didn't offer to help, I added. And she never gave us dates. No marriage license. No timeline. Just vague details. Do we even know if she was really his wife? Eleanor asked. A thought struck me. I pulled the bent ring from my coat. This was outside the doctor's house. It's my date. But it's not mine. May stared. He reused the same ring. No, I whispered. He replicated them. Which means Sabine's might be fake. If she even had one to begin with, Eleanor added. We all fell silent. Laura looked up, her voice hollow. What if Sabine was never one of us? I didn't want to believe it. But something deep in my bones told me the truth. One of us wasn't a widow. She was Gregory's weapon. Eleanor's sitting room had turned into a command center. The coffee table was covered in maps, printed emails, bank records, and 2 half-drunk bottles of wine. But none of us touched the wine tonight. The fear was too raw. The reality too close. Let's start from the beginning, Eleanor said, fingers steepled. Who is Sabine? None of us had an answer. May opened her laptop and began pulling up records. She said she was married to him for 15 years. That would put her marriage around 2008. I was still with him then, I said quietly. So was Eleanor. Exactly, May muttered, typing fast. And look, there's no Sabine Voss on any marriage records. No tax returns, no joint properties, no health insurance policies. Nothing. She's a ghost, Dana said. Just like that doctor. Laura nodded slowly. I think I've seen her before, not in real life. In photos. On one of Gregory's old Facebook accounts. But her name wasn't Sabine. It was Anya Kuznetsov. May froze. That's not just a name. That's a flagged one. She turned her laptop to show us. Interpol red notice. Anya Kuznetsov. Fraud. Identity theft. Disappeared in 2009. Suspected of laundering millions for a foreign syndicate. We all stared at the screen in stunned silence. Why would Gregory be involved with a woman like her? Dana whispered. He was always charming to us, Eleanor said, her voice cold. But Gregory didn't marry out of love. He married for leverage. Connections. Power. And if Sabine or Anya was already a con artist, he didn't need to groom her. He needed to partner with her. That's when we heard it. A soft knock at the door. Everyone stiffened. Eleanor stood slowly and walked to the entrance, peering through the peephole. Then she unlocked it with trembling hands and pulled in a small brown envelope that had been left outside. No name, no return address. She brought it into the light and opened it carefully. Inside, a single photograph of Laura, taken through her apartment window. A blood-red string tied in a knot. And a flash drive. May grabbed her laptop and inserted the drive. There was one file. Stop looking. MP4-inch. We huddled around the screen, breath held. The video opened with shaky footage. Night vision. A camera watching Laura as she walked to her car. Another shot, Dana at the grocery store. Me, through the window of my home, making tea. Then static. And a final image, Sabine's face, smiling. Followed by a computerized voice, 6 heads are too many. The game ends, or the dying begins. Laura backed away from the screen. He's watching us. He knows everything. Eleanor slammed her hand on the table. No. No more fear. No more hiding. This proves it. He's alive, and Sabine's with him. They're using our fear to control us. I clenched my fists. Then we flipped the script. We stopped being prey. May turned to me. You said you still had the keys to the beach house, right? Yes. It hasn't been touched in years. Then we use it. We set a trap. Not for him. For her. You want to bait Sabine? Dana asked, stunned. Not bait, I said. Expose her. We decided we'd send her a message, pretending we'd found a piece of Gregory's hidden wealth, jewelry, cash, whatever sounded believable. We'd say we were too scared to handle it ourselves, so we were taking it to the beach house to hide it. If she showed up, we'd know. And we'd be ready. That night, I stared at the cracked ceiling above my bed, a single thought rattling in my skull. Gregory hadn't just stolen from us. He hadn't just lied or cheated or vanished. He had turned us into chess pieces. And Sabine, Anya, was his queen. But he'd forgotten one thing. Even queens fall, when they're cornered. The beach house was where Gregory and I had spent our 20th anniversary. It had white shutters, a rusted mailbox, and a cracked deck that creaked when you stepped on it. He called it Driftwood House. I hadn't returned since the year he stopped coming with me. The irony wasn't lost on me, that the house where I once believed in love would now become a place of confrontation, of revelation, of ambush. We arrived before dawn, 3 cars spaced out so we wouldn't raise suspicion. May brought surveillance gear, hidden cameras, and Mike's shed ordered online. Eleanor, ever the strategist, brought pepper spray and a pocket stun gun. Laura clutched a thermos of coffee like it was a lifeline. Dana was quiet, too quiet, lost in her thoughts. She was still shaken from the threatening video. We had 2 hours to make the house look the part. I dragged out one of Gregory's old duffel bags, filled it with costume jewelry and stacks of fake money we printed the night before. We left it on the kitchen table in plain sight, lit by the golden slant of morning sun. Looks convincing, May said. Now we wait. We didn't have to wait long. At 10:42 a.m., the front gate creaked open. We all froze behind our assigned hiding spots, May and I behind the pantry door, Eleanor in the coat closet, Dana and Laura tucked in the spare bedroom with a phone ready to record. Footsteps padded along the porch. Soft. Measured. The door opened. But it wasn't Sabine. It was a man. Late 50s. Graying hair, dark glasses, a navy blue windbreaker. None of us had ever seen him before. He walked straight into the kitchen and opened a drawer, pulling out a burner phone. He didn't even flinch at the sight of the duffel bag on the table. He was looking for something. That's when Dana's phone vibrated. The man's head turned sharply toward the bedroom door. Footsteps. Fast. Laura screamed as he charged toward the room. I ran out from the pantry, grabbed the fire poker from the fireplace, and swung it with everything I had. It struck his arm with a sickening crack, and he shouted in pain, dropping a small device, black, blinking, and unmistakable. A tracker. He grabbed the duffel bag and bolted through the back door before any of us could stop him. May ran after him, but stopped short as a black car peeled out of the gravel driveway and disappeared into the dunes. What the hell was that? Eleanor barked. May picked up the device. GPS. He wasn't stealing. He was planting this. So they could follow us, Dana said, pale. Laura dropped into a chair, her voice trembling. That wasn't random. That man knew exactly what he was doing. Which means someone told him, I whispered. Someone told Gregory where we'd be. Sabine, May muttered. It has to be. No, I said slowly. She wouldn't need a middleman. She would have come herself. Silence fell over the room. Then Eleanor asked the question none of us wanted to say aloud. What if there's another one? Another accomplice? Another loyal pawn in Gregory's twisted empire? And suddenly, the trap we had set for Sabine felt like a trap he had set for us. We were exposed. marked, played, and he was always one move ahead. But as I stared at the fire poker in my trembling hands, something inside me shifted. He wanted to scare us back into silence. Instead, he lit a fuse. We returned to Eleanor's house shaken, but more furious than afraid. That's the thing about betrayal, it doesn't just wound you. It wakes something up. Something primal. Something you didn't know was living under your ribs all this time. May sat at the dining table, dismantling the tracker like a surgeon. Dana made tea she didn't drink. Laura wrapped herself in a shawl and stared out the window like she was expecting the shadows to move. And me? I went to the one place I hadn't dared to look since Gregory died. The garage. It still smelled like him. Cedarwood and car oil. His tools were lined up in obsessive order. And there, on the shelf above his dusty golf clubs, was a box marked retirement plans. I knew that handwriting. Cursive, controlled, elegant. A lie in every curve. I pulled it down and opened it. Inside were 3 notebooks. One marked personal, one financial, and one unmarked. I took the last one inside. It was a journal. Scribbled notes, half-finished ideas, dates, crossed-out names. But there was a rhythm to it. A code. Gregory always loved puzzles. I remember how he used to test me with riddles. He called it foreplay. I called it control. On the second page, something stopped me cold. A woman is easiest to control when you make her doubt her own memory. 6 is too many. 4 is ideal. 3 is safest. 1 will do. Start subtracting. I showed the page to the others. What the hell does that mean? Laura asked, her voice barely audible. May's eyes narrowed. He's talking about us. He never meant for all of us to survive. Dana blinked. Subtracting? Wait. Laura's apartment break-in. The man at the beach house. It's not intimidation. It's elimination. He's thinning the herd, Eleanor said flatly. That's when I noticed it on the bottom of the page, faint, nearly invisible. The corner was torn, and beneath it, in smaller handwriting, it read, "Loyalty lies in the red bird. The rest will scatter." We sat in silence, each of us trying to decipher what that meant. A red bird? Suddenly, Laura stood and rushed into the hallway. She came back holding her purse. Shaking, she pulled something out. A velvet pouch. She opened it and spilled a small pin onto the table. A red enamel bird. "My last birthday with him," she whispered. "He gave me this. He said it was a symbol. That I was the only one who'd never betray him." May backed away from the table. "You're saying he trusted you most?" Laura looked sick. No, I didn't even wear it. I forgot I had it." Eleanor's joy tightened. "Then he gave you a symbol. A marker. So his people would know who to spare." Laura's eyes welled with tears. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't want it. But it was too late. The doubt had landed. Just like Gregory wanted." We all looked at her differently now. One by one, he was turning us against each other, through clues, attacks, selective kindness. He was using our trauma as his board game, and we were playing right into his hands. "I want to believe you," I said softly to Laura. "But I need to know everything. Did he ever mention a safe house? A second identity? Anything?" She hesitated. Just a moment. But it was enough. May slammed her hands on the table. "No more secrets. If any of us is hiding anything, say it now or walk out that door." Laura was crying now, full sobs. "He told me, once, that if anything ever happened, I should go to a man named Silas. He said Silas would know where to find him." "Where?" "Somewhere in Montana. That's all I know." "I swear." Eleanor leaned forward. "You've had this information for days. Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I was scared." Laura cried. "Because I didn't know if he'd come for me next." I believed her. And yet, I didn't. Gregory's plan wasn't just about disappearing. It was about desecration. Breaking everything he touched. Turning our love into poison. Our memories into doubts. Our unity into suspicion. But now, we had something we didn't before. A name. Silas. Montana. The red bird. A trail. Eleanor stood slowly, fire in her eyes. "Then that's where we go next. All of us." But as we prepared to leave, May noticed something on the back of the journal cover. Smudged in red. almost dry. Not ink. Blood. And in it, one word, Anya. Montana felt like another world. Vast skies, sharp air, and miles of nothingness. The silence on the road between towns made it feel like we were driving into the mouth of something ancient and unforgiving. We left in pairs, Eleanor and I flew into Helena, while May, Dana, and Laura followed a day later under different names. We didn't trust airports. We didn't trust phones. Gregory had already shown us he was always listening, always watching. The name Silas led us to a small town called Haventon, just a speck on the map, nestled between hills and abandoned mining roads. Eleanor found him through a P.O. box, something tied to Gregory's fake death documents. It had received 2 packages since the funeral, one from a woman named Anya, the other from a bank in Panama. We rented an old SUV and drove straight through the woods, following a dirt path that barely deserved to be called a road. The GPS cut out 10 miles before we arrived. At the top of the hill sat a log cabin. Fresh tire tracks. Smoke curling from the chimney. Either he's here, Eleanor whispered, or he's long gone. We stepped out cautiously, phones off, weapons ready, May's stun gun, my pocket knife, and a can of bear spray Eleanor insisted on bringing. I knocked once. Twice. No answer. Then the door creaked open. He was older than we expected, 60, maybe 70. Balding. Dressed like a man who hadn't left his property in weeks. But it was his eyes that chilled me, sharp, gray, calculating. He looked at us like he already knew who we were. "You're late," he said. We stepped inside. The cabin was bare except for a wood stove, a worn couch, and a metal filing cabinet with no dust on it. There were no photos. No clocks. No electronics. "You're Silas," Eleanor said firmly. He nodded. "And you're the wives. How many did you know about?" I asked. "All of you," he said. "And none of you." That made Eleanor stiffen. "Explain." "I didn't know your names. Just code numbers. He always referred to you by order, first, second, third. She was fourth." "Sabine." "No," Silas said, and his expression darkened. "Anya." We went still. She was his partner, not his wife. They met long before any of you came into the picture. He called her his mirror, his shadow. She ran cons with him in Europe. Identity theft, art forgeries, international wire fraud. She vanished in 2009. He told me she was dead. "She's not," I said. "She's with him now." His face changed. Fear? Regret? I couldn't tell. But he stepped back and opened the filing cabinet. From inside, he pulled out a thin folder marked Exit Strategy. He placed it on the table. "I was the failsafe," he said quietly. "In case something went wrong, I'd get his funds out, destroy the paper trails, and deliver one final message." He opened the folder. Inside were blueprints, names of fake passports, offshore accounts, dozens of them. But what made me go cold was the page clipped to the back. A list of names. Our names. Beside each, a number. A location. And one column labeled Final Clearance. Dana's name had a check mark next to it. So did May's. And Laura's. "Clearance," Eleanor read aloud. "You mean elimination?" He nodded. "It's not just about hiding. He's covering his tracks. Making sure no one's left to talk." Laura stepped back, hand over her mouth. "He really meant to kill us. He's done it before," Silas said. Wife number 3. Evelyn. Vanished in 2001. That wasn't cancer like he said. She was found in a river in Croatia. No one ever connected the dots. No one spoke. A weight fell on all of us. "How do we stop him?" I asked. Silas looked at me, finally really looked. "You don't. Watch me." He gave a grim smile. "He's not just a man anymore. He's a system. An idea. He's in banks, trusts, identities, foundations. Killing him won't erase what he's done. But I'll give you this." He reached into the filing cabinet and handed me a USB drive. "This has everything. Every name, every deal, every transfer. The whole machine." "And what about Anya?" Eleanor asked. Silas hesitated. "She's not helping him," he said quietly. "She's controlling him." That silence again. That crack in our understanding of who the true villain really was. You said she was his mirror, I murmured. Then maybe Gregory isn't the puppet master anymore. No, Silas whispered. He's the puppet. And she's cutting the strings one by one. We left the cabin an hour later, USB in hand, a fresh storm blowing in behind us. On the drive down, I watched the trees blur past the window, and one thought took root in my chest like a splinter. Maybe Gregory started this game, but Anya is the one determined to finish it. And if we didn't stop her first, one of us would be next. We flew back in silence, each woman locked in her own storm. The USB Silas had given me sat in my handbag like a ticking bomb. It was strange how something so small, so ordinary, could hold enough darkness to drown every one of us. When we landed, May already had a tech guy waiting. She called him Clean, someone she trusted from her early days in cybersecurity. His name was Theo. Quiet, bearded, probably too smart for his own good. He didn't ask questions, just took the drive, plugged it into a clean laptop, and began decrypting. We watched from behind, the five of us huddled in Eleanor's living room. Sabine was still gone. No word, no trace. I half expected her to walk through the door and smile like this was all some test we failed. Theo finally looked up. You were right. This drive is a blueprint. 37 identities. 14 international accounts. 6 unreported deaths. Wives. I asked. Some. But not just wives. Whistleblowers. Accountants. A judge. Jesus, Dana whispered. Theo kept clicking through folders, lines of code reflecting off his glasses. There's more. A document labeled pending. It's encrypted with 3 layers, but I'm working on it. What's inside it? May asked. Theo hesitated. If I had to guess? It's his next phase. His exit. And ours, I muttered. Eleanor crossed her arms. We need to know who he plans to take out next. 10 minutes later, Theo cracked the final key. A list opened. A short one. For names. Dana Elridge, cleared May Carlson, cleared Laura Fenwick, cleared Eleanor Wright, pending we all turned to her. Eleanor didn't flinch. So I'm next. I swallowed. Where's my name? Theo scrolled down. Nothing. She's not on it, he confirmed. You're not listed at all. Everyone turned to look at me. A slow, prickling discomfort spread across my spine. I'm telling you, I said quickly, I knew nothing about this. That's not the point, May said, her eyes narrowing. You're not on the list. At all. It could mean anything, I insisted. Maybe he forgot to update it. No, Eleanor said firmly. Gregory didn't forget. If you're not on it, that was deliberate. I've risked just as much as any of you, and yet, Dana cut in, you're the one who found the journals. You're the one who spoke to Silas first. You're the one who isn't marked for death. I felt the heat of their suspicion like a noose tightening. You think I'm working with him? Not necessarily, Eleanor said slowly. But we can't ignore what this means. Either Gregory still trusts you, or Anya does. A silence fell over us. Theo cleared his throat and turned the laptop. There's one more thing. He pulled up a scanned image. A handwritten letter. With Gregory's unmistakable scrawl. If Helena figures it out first, give her the account. She earned it. Account? May asked. Theo clicked again. A banking login opened. Millions of dollars. In my name. Accounts I never touched. Accounts I didn't know existed. But the dates, the transfers, they began a year before his death. He had been moving money under my name for months. What the hell is this? I whispered, shaken. Dana stepped back. This changes everything. No, it doesn't, I said firmly. This was his manipulation. His setup. He always loved controlling the story. Or you were always part of it, May said flatly. I looked to Eleanor. Her face was unreadable, but her voice was low and deliberate. Either he was planning to frame you or crown you. I stood, too stunned to breathe. I had spent weeks mourning a man I thought I knew. Then weeks hunting a monster I realized I never truly saw. Now, I didn't know which was worse, that I was still one of the hunted or the one they all feared. I couldn't sleep that night. Not with those eyes on me, not the dead eyes of Gregory, but the living ones of my fellow widows. Suspicion had fractured us. And if Gregory's plan was to make me doubt them, or make them doubt me, He was succeeding. So I made a decision. I would go alone. There was one property I hadn't told them about. One I had found on a cross-check of Gregory's old tax filings, hidden under a trust that used my maiden name, Helena Graves, paired with an address in rural Virginia. A house he never mentioned. Never brought me to. Never claimed. But the records were there. Title transfer. Renovations. Utility bills. He had been there recently. Very recently. I left at 3 a.m. without telling anyone. Just me, a flashlight, and a pistol I prayed I'd never need to use. The house was 2 hours outside Richmond, deep in the woods, beyond cell service and common sense. It wasn't abandoned, it was preserved. A manicured lawn. A locked gate. A single outdoor light still flickering on the porch. Like someone had just stepped out. I parked a mile down and hiked in through the trees. The air was thick and wet, clinging to my skin like guilt. Every branch snap made me flinch. Every crow felt like a watcher. The front door was locked. I broke in through a window. Inside was pristine. Modern. Deceptively warm. Like a vacation rental staged for an open house. But I knew that smell. Gregory's cologne, something subtle, spiced. Faint, but recent. I moved room to room, checking for cameras. Nothing. Then I found the study. Books lined the walls, some hollowed out, some real. A globe bar. A mahogany desk with drawers that didn't open until I found the hidden latch behind a framed photo. Of me. Younger. Smiling. At a birthday party I barely remembered. My breath hitched. I opened the drawer. Inside, a spiral notebook. A keycard with a red slash. A photograph of a young boy. And a thumb drive labeled Truth. I stared at the photo. The boy couldn't have been more than 10. Curly hair. Pale eyes. Familiar. Hauntingly familiar. Then I flipped open the notebook. Page after page of notes. Not about money. Or fake identities. Or international accounts. About me. Helena is the only one who sees the long game. She never believed in chaos. Only in justice. If I fall, she will either avenge me or destroy me. Either way, she wins. That's why I made her the contingency plan. That's why I made her his guardian. I froze. His? I flipped the page. A birth certificate. The boy in the photo. Name, Isaac. Mother, Anya Kuznetsov. Father, unknown. Legal guardian in case of emergency, Helena Voss. I couldn't breathe. He had named me guardian of Anya's son. Why? Why me? Why now? That's when I heard the floorboard creak. Not under me. Behind me. I turned. And there she was. Sabine. No. Anya. Alive. Real. Watching me with a face so calm, it felt unnatural. You always were the clever one, she said softly. But not quite clever enough to stay out of this. I raised the pistol. She didn't flinch. I'm not here to kill you, she said. Yet? Why make me guardian of your son? Because Gregory trusted you. And so did I. You don't know me. She smiled. I know everything about you. I studied you for years. I watched every speech, every interview. You were the one he never broke. I held the gun tighter. Where is he? Her expression darkened. He's not the one in charge anymore. Then who is? She tilted her head, eyes glinting. I am. And then she threw a small metal device at my feet. Smoke exploded into the room, white and searing. I coughed, stumbled, fired blindly, but by the time the air cleared, she was gone. The photograph was gone. The thumb drive too. But not the notebook. That, I clutched to my chest like a holy book as I fled into the night, lungs burning, heart pounding. Anya wasn't just playing the long game. She was writing the rules. And somehow, I was at the center of it. I drove back faster than I should have, the notebook pressed against the passenger seat like it might vanish if I let it go. My hands were trembling. My throat still raw from the smoke. I kept replaying her words. You were the one he never broke. And then, I am. She didn't say I was in charge. She said I am. And in that second, I realized this wasn't Gregory's game anymore. It hadn't been for a long time. Anya was the architect now. And if I was her contingency plan, then the rest of them? They were obstacles. I pulled into Eleanor's driveway just after midnight. The porch light was flickering. One of the windows was open, strange, considering Eleanor was meticulous, borderline obsessive about locking up. My stomach nodded. I got out of the car slowly, slipped the notebook into my coat, and crept toward the house. The door was ajar. Inside, the hallway was dim. Quiet. Too quiet. Eleanor. I called, my voice hoarse. No answer. May? Dana? Still nothing. The silence was so thick it had weight. And then I saw it. A smear of blood on the floor, leading into the kitchen. I ran. The kitchen light was still on, buzzing faintly. And there, slumped against the counter, blood soaking the front of her blouse, was May. I dropped to my knees. Her eyes were open, blinking slowly. Her lips were moving, but no sound came out. Oh God, May, stay with me, stay with me. I grabbed a dish towel and pressed it to the wound. It was deep. Stab, not gunshot. Side of the abdomen. Bleeding too fast. I tried, she whispered. I tried to stop her. Who? She came in through the side door. Like she knew where everything was. I thought it was Laura. Her eyes glazed for a second. Then she focused. Not Laura, she said hoarsely. But her face, my blood went cold. Anya? May shook her head. No, the girl, the daughter. What daughter? But her eyes rolled back. Her body slumped. May, no, no. I grabbed her shoulders and shook her gently, but she was already fading. I grabbed my phone. No signal. I ran outside, sprinted to the end of the street, and finally got a bar. I called for help. Gave them the address. Screamed into the night. It took 12 minutes for the ambulance to arrive. It felt like 12 years. They worked on her there in the kitchen. I stood to the side, covered in her blood, feeling like I had failed her in a way I couldn't name. Dana and Eleanor arrived just as they were loading May into the ambulance. Dana collapsed into sobs. Eleanor didn't cry. She just stared at the blood on the tiles and whispered, "It started, hasn't it?" "Yes," I said. "It's not Gregory anymore. It's her." I nodded slowly. "And she's not coming for money." "Then what does she want?" I opened my coat, pulled out the notebook, and handed it to Eleanor. She read the page in silence. The one with the boy's photo. The one with my name listed as guardian. Dana stepped closer, trembling. "Is this Gregory's child?" "No," I said softly. "Anya's." "And you're the guardian?" I didn't agree to that. I didn't even know. But now she's making sure I do. What does that mean? It means she's not just erasing Gregory's past. I looked back at the dark house, where the blood still glistened on the tile. She's building something new. And we were the foundation she was willing to bleed to get there. May survived. Barely. She was in surgery for 4 hours. The knife had punctured her liver. The doctors said another few minutes, and she would have bled out on Eleanor's kitchen floor. When they asked who did it, we gave them nothing. No name. No motive. Because how do you explain that the person trying to kill you might also be the mother of a boy you're somehow responsible for? We took shifts at the hospital. Dana refused to leave her side. Eleanor stayed quiet, processing. Laura hadn't shown up. At first, we thought she was avoiding us out of guilt. But after the second day without a single call or message, I knew it wasn't guilt. It was something else. I went to Laura's apartment myself, pounding on the door until a neighbor opened hers and said, she moved out 2 nights ago. Packed everything into a black SUV with no plates. Gone before dawn. Gone. Without saying a word. I should have felt betrayed. But all I felt was certainty. She wasn't gone because she was afraid. She was gone because she was done pretending. Back at Eleanor's, we gathered in her living room once more, down to just 3 of us now. 4 if May pulled through. I laid the notebook out on the table. Eleanor opened it to the page with Isaac's photo and stared. Dana leaned in, her lips pressed into a tight line. I ran the child's birth certificate through 2 verification systems, I said. It's real. Born in Prague. Registered under Anya Kuznetsov. No father listed. But Gregory named me as the guardian. He planned this for years, Eleanor whispered. What did he want you to do? Raise the boy. I don't think it's that simple. Dana turned another page and froze. There, scribbled in Gregory's hand, was a sentence. She wanted a legacy. I gave her bloodline. But I made sure the weapon was born from Helena's eyes. My mouth went dry. What does that mean? Dana asked. But Eleanor already knew. Her face had gone pale. It's not about custody. It's about identity. I stared at the sentence again. From Helena's eyes. And suddenly, everything made sense in the most horrifying way. Oh my God, I whispered. He used my identity. What? I stood. My voice trembled. The birth certificate. He didn't just name me guardian. He listed himself as anonymous because the real father's identity was forged. He put my DNA in the database. He created a false maternal match. Eleanor looked at me in horror. You mean? He made it look like I'm his mother. Dana backed away. So the boy, Isaac, he's not just connected to Anya. He's connected to you. Legally. Biologically, if anyone runs a test. But why? Eleanor asked. And that's when I understood. It wasn't about Isaac. It was about Anya. About giving her a way out. If Gregory died or vanished and Anya needed protection, needed a clean identity for her son, she'd need someone unsuspecting. Someone clean. Someone strong. Someone like me. Anya never wanted to raise him in her shadow, I said, numb. She wanted him to have a future. A name. And now she's killing everyone who knows the truth. Eleanor flipped the notebook shut. And Laura. Not Laura, I said slowly. She's not Laura. Dana's eyes widened. What are you saying? She always knew more than she admitted. She vanished just before May was stabbed. She wore the red bird. She was the only one who Gregory never marked for death. Eleanor whispered, You think she's Anya's daughter? I didn't answer. Because I knew. Anya didn't just leave a son behind. She left a shadow. A woman trained to mimic us, blend with us, disarm us. A woman we thought was grieving when in truth, she was gathering information. One of us was never one of us. And now she was coming back for the boy. It was Dana who traced him. She had a cousin in Child Protective Services, someone discreet and fast. It took less than 12 hours to pull a report from a flagged private school just outside Chicago. A boy named Isaac Graves had been enrolled there under emergency guardianship. My name was listed on the file. I never signed anything. Never spoke to the school. And yet, legally, I was his mother. The guardian contact number? Disconnected. The address? A rented townhouse paid for through a shell company under Redbird Holdings LLC. Anya had used me to hide him. We flew out that same night, Eleanor, Dana, and me. I didn't tell the school who I really was, only that I needed to see my son immediately. The principal, a kind older woman named Miss Tran, didn't question me. She led me down a quiet hall and opened a classroom door. And there he was. Sitting by the window, arms folded over his knees, eyes distant. The same eyes I had seen in the photograph. Isaac, Ms. Tran said gently, someone's here to see you. He looked up. Right at me. And something in his expression flickered, not confusion, not fear, but recognition. Like he'd been expecting this. I stepped forward slowly. Isaac, do you know who I am? He nodded. You're Helena. My breath caught. Has someone told you about me? He looked back out the window. She said you'd come. When it was almost over. Who said that? He didn't answer. Isaac, do you know where your mother is? He turned his face back to me. And his voice was calm, eerily calm for a boy that age. She said if you found me, you'd understand everything. That you'd protect the legacy. I knelt beside him. Isaac, listen to me. You're not in trouble. But I need you to tell me the truth. Is someone hurting you? Controlling you? He blinked. No one hurts me. They trained me. Mother said I'd be ready. Ready for what? He reached into his backpack and handed me something wrapped in red silk. A flash drive. I stared at it. What's on this? He shrugged. She said you'd know when to open it. After the final name is gone. Eleanor stepped forward. Final name. I turned to Dana. Her face had gone pale. Who's left? She asked. If Laura was Anya's plant and May's in the hospital, and then Eleanor whispered, me. I looked at her sharply. Don't you dare, but she was already backing away, already reaching for her phone. We have to leave. Now. If she's coming for me next, the school's fire alarm exploded overhead. Screaming. Chaos. A cloud of smoke poured through the hallway vents, not real fire, not heat. Just smoke. A tactic. Eleanor grabbed Isaac. Dana grabbed my arm. Move. Eleanor barked. We shoved through the hallway, past panicked teachers, children huddled to walls. The emergency exit slammed open, and we burst into the cold night. But the street was empty. Too empty. A single black car sat idling across the road, the windows tinted. And through the windshield I saw her. Anya. Sitting behind the wheel. Smiling. Then, slowly, she raised her phone. And pressed a button. A message popped onto my own phone at that same moment, somehow preloaded. You have the boy. I have the plan. But only one of us will leave this clean. And then her car vanished into the darkness, tires spinning, headlights cutting through fog like razors. I turned to Isaac, shaking. What was she preparing you for? He said nothing. So I held the flash drive to the sky like it might answer instead. Because now I understood. This wasn't about Gregory. Not anymore. This was about Anya's legacy. And if I didn't break the cycle soon, Isaac would become the weapon she always meant him to be. Back at the hotel, Eleanor slammed the door and locked it with trembling fingers. Dana pulled the curtains shut. I sat at the edge of the bed, Isaac beside me, the red silk-wrapped flash drive in my hand like a fuse I was too afraid to light. But I had no choice now. I plugged it into Eleanor's laptop. It took exactly 13 seconds for the files to load. Just one folder. Labeled Legacy. Inside were 4 items. A video file titled To Helena. A PDF called Countdown_Protocol. PDF, a folder named Operation Redbird, and a locked file named Only When She Knows. Yexi, I opened the video first. Anya's face filled the screen. Poised. Beautiful. Cold. Hello, Helena, she began, voice calm. If you're watching this, it means you have him. It means you passed the final test. I swallowed hard. You were always the strongest. Gregory admired that. Envied it. But he never understood how to truly shape power. He broke women. I forged them. And now, I've forged my son. She leaned forward slightly, her voice hardening. I trained him to be what none of you could be, ruthless, without regret. Gregory wanted legacy through lies and women he could manipulate. I want legacy through clarity. Through control. Isaac is that legacy. Dana gasped. She's turning him into a weapon. I finished numb. Anya continued. Don't think you're safe. The drive has a protocol embedded. Open the PDF. The clock is already running. The screen went black. I opened the PDF next. It was a single page. Operation Redbird. Final phase asset activated. Isaac delivery. In progress execution deadline. 72 hours countdown begins upon file activation. Target list embedded. Last recipient will trigger broadcast. If terminated prematurely, protocol will self-launch via global backups. Legacy must complete. Helena must decide. A.K. Below it, in large red letters, 71:58:11. 71:58:10. The timer had already started. What the hell does this mean? Eleanor snapped. She's broadcasting something? I opened the folder named Operation Redbird. Inside were dozens of documents, government contracts, corporate scams, shell companies, blackmail files. People she and Gregory had worked with. People in power. People now being threatened. She's blackmailing the world, I whispered. This is a hit list. CEOs, judges, ministers, journalists. Either she completes the legacy with Isaac, or the files go public. And how do we stop it? Dana asked. I pointed to the last file, Only When She Knows. Yexi, she built a failsafe. Something only I can unlock. Then open it. I double-clicked. A prompt appeared, answer the question. One word. What did Gregory fear more than death? I froze. I knew this. Not because he told me, but because I had lived it. Gregory didn't fear death. He feared exposure. I typed it in. Exposure, the file unlocked. A short code flashed across the screen, followed by another video. Not of Anya. Of Gregory. He looked disheveled. Sweating. Panicked. Helena, if she finds you, if Isaac's with her, you have to stop her. She thinks she's cleansing the world. But she's playing God. She doesn't care who burns. She said I was weak, but at least I left you a way out. Take the boy to Prague. To the old house. The ledger is there. It's the only thing she can't rewrite. Then the screen glitched and cut to black. Eleanor whispered, "She's been ahead of us for so long." Dana's voice was shaking. What do we do? I looked at Isaac. He was staring at the screen, unmoved. Like he'd seen it all before. I knelt in front of him. Do you want to be a part of this? His voice was quiet. I just want to know the truth. I nodded. Then we go to Prague. Because if there was even one thread Gregory left behind that could unravel Anya's web, we had 72 hours to find it. Before the world burned. Prague was gray when we landed. Gray skies. Gray cobblestones. Gray river. The kind of city that felt like it remembered everything. It wore history like a bruise. The clock was still ticking. 57 hours. We moved quietly. Gregory's directions in the video were vague. The old house. The ledger. Only she knows where. That she had haunted me since we boarded the plane. The only she Gregory ever feared before Anya was Evelyn. Wife number 3. The one who died in 2001. Or so we thought. Eleanor, ever the researcher, had pulled a quiet miracle mid-flight. She found a property deed in Prague tied to an alias Gregory once used in the 90s. The house had taxes paid up until 2001, then again starting 5 years ago, by someone named Eliska Vaughn. Eliska. A name that didn't exist until Evelyn disappeared. And now we knew why. The house was buried in the southern district of Mala Strana, tucked behind a wrought iron gate and thick hedges that had grown wild with time. It was grand in a crumbling way. Ivy crawling up the stone. Stained windows. A brass knocker shaped like a lion's head. I knocked once. Then twice. And the door opened. She stood there like she'd never left, tall, thin, silver hair pulled back into a tight braid. Her face was older, lined, but her eyes. They were fire. You took your time, she said. My breath caught. Evelyn. She nodded once. Eliska, now. I thought you were dead? Yes. So did Gregory. That was the point. She stepped aside. We entered the house cautiously. Dana kept close to Isaac. Eleanor had her hand on the back of her coat over the concealed pistol she'd brought from Virginia. Eliska walked slowly into a dim parlor. Dust covered most of the furniture, but a fire was lit. I've been waiting 23 years, she said. Figured one day someone would come looking for the ledger. You knew about the boy? I asked. I knew about all of you. I helped Gregory build the first life. The real fraud. Before he got clever with foundations and wives. And the ledger? She looked me over. You still don't understand what it is, do you? I didn't answer. She disappeared through a panel in the bookshelf, revealing a hidden staircase spiraling downward. We followed her into the dark. Below was a cold cellar. No wine. No clutter. Just a steel safe and a long, oak table covered in dust. She opened the safe with her bare hand thumbprint. Inside was a black book. She placed it on the table. This isn't just financials, she said. It's his real life. Every name, every payment, every lie. Even the ones Anya doesn't know. Dana whispered, why keep this? Why not burn it? Eliska's eyes flickered to Isaac. Because one day, he would come. And I needed her to know I saw what she became. She trusted Gregory, I said. But she hated his weakness. She didn't hate it, Eliska said softly. She weaponized it. She knew exactly when to let him fall, so she could rise. I opened the ledger. And what I saw was worse than I imagined. Photos of political blackmail. Diagrams of recruitment programs. Proof of human trafficking networks Gregory helped design and Anya now controlled. Worse, a list labeled Ascension Phase 2. Names. Places. Triggers. And at the bottom, Isaac Graves, inheritance triggered. Dana covered her mouth. Eleanor looked at me. He was always the key, I whispered. If we hadn't found him, she would have just vanished. But now that we have him, she has to finish the plan. And we just sped it up, Eleanor muttered. Isaac stepped forward, his face still unreadable. He looked down at the page. "What's this symbol?" he asked, pointing. A red bird, inked beside his name. Eliska leaned in, her voice nearly a whisper. "That's the seal," she said. "The final piece of the plan. When it's activated, the drive she gave you will send everything to every major network. Instant exposure. Governments will collapse. Corporations will fall. Banks will crash. Chaos. And the world will think you pulled the trigger," Dana said to me, realization dawning. "Because legally, the boy is mine," I whispered. "She built the whole plan on my identity. She's making me the mother of a revolution." Eliska nodded once. That was always her revenge. Not against Gregory, but against me. My blood ran cold. We had less than 2 days to stop the chain reaction. And the only person who could deactivate the trigger was Anya herself. Or Isaac. But he wasn't ready. Not yet. We returned to the apartment Eliska prepared for us. It was safe, quiet, shielded from surveillance. Her paranoia was meticulous. No Wi-Fi, no cameras, no cell signals within a 300-meter radius. The woman hadn't faked her death to be found. She had faked it to build a fortress. But even fortresses crumble from the inside. The countdown ticked louder in our minds with each hour. 43 hours. We gathered in the parlor, me, Eleanor, Dana, Eliska, and Isaac. We laid everything we had on the table. The flash drive. The ledger. The ledger's list of planned targets. The coordinates marked ascension and release. And one question remained. How do we stop Anya? "She won't come to you," Eliska said. "She wants the final act on her stage. With her spotlight. You'll have to force her hand." "She thinks I'm still her puppet," I said. "Still too stunned to see what she's doing." "Then let her think it," Eleanor added. "But we'll be 2 moves ahead." Isaac sat cross-legged on the floor, the ledger open in front of him. Every so often, he tilted his head like he was absorbing it all, not as a child, but as a machine being programmed. That scared me more than anything. I couldn't tell if we were saving him or if we were shaping him. At 2 a.m., I couldn't sleep. I went to the kitchen for tea. Dana was already there, hands trembling around a chipped mug. "She's winning," Dana whispered. "Not yet. She's always been 2 steps ahead, Helena." "What if we're too late?" "We're not. She stabbed May. She trained a child to deliver a revolution. What else is she capable of?" I said nothing. Dana stood up. "I need air." I let her go. I shouldn't have. At 4:17 a.m., Eliska burst into my room. "Wake up." The windows were open. The drawer with the flash drive was empty. And Dana was gone. We ran through the apartment, no sign of her. No note. No sign of forced entry. Only the security cam at the front stairwell, Eliska's only concession to technology. We watched it on her backup monitor. And there she was. Dana. Carrying the drive. Meeting someone at the street. We couldn't see the face clearly. But we saw the silhouette. Laura. Or the woman we thought was Laura. She hugged Dana like an old friend. Took the drive from her hands. Whispered something in her ear. And then Dana turned back, walking toward the apartment. Except, she never arrived. We found her body 1 hour later in the alley behind the bakery. Throat slit. Wrist marked with a red ink bird. Eleanor screamed when she saw it. I collapsed. Anya had her drive. The countdown would finish. And now we were out of time. Back at the apartment, Isaac stared at the footage. He didn't cry. He didn't flinch. "She killed her," he said, calm as ice. "Yes." "Why?" "Because Dana gave her what she wanted. And once someone gives her that, she makes sure they can't ever take it back." He looked up at me. "Will she kill me too?" I didn't lie. "I don't know. But she's my mother. She's not your future." He held my eyes a moment longer. Then nodded slowly. And said, "Then I'll help you stop her." We buried Dana the next morning. No funeral. No headstone. Just a name carved into the earth behind Eliska's crumbling estate, under the trees where the morning light couldn't quite reach. She deserved more, but Anya had stolen even that. We were down to 3 women and 1 boy. 40 hours left. The plan was simple in theory. Dangerous in practice. We would give Anya what she wanted Isaac. We'd leak coordinates of a fake exchange. We'd feed them through the same dead drops Anya had used for years, the same ones Eleanor tracked after decoding Gregory's private keys from the ledger. We'd make her believe she had won. But the bait wasn't Isaac. The trap was. We chose a location just outside the border, an abandoned rail station in Cesc-Fujavis. One road in. No exits. Cameras we controlled. A kill zone with nowhere to run. Eleanor handled surveillance. Eliska, weapons. I was the voice Anya still believed in. And Isaac. Isaac became the knife none of us wanted to hold. We rehearsed it 3 times. His lines. His walk. The moment he'd activate the decoy flash and speak the kill word. Phoenix. That word would trigger the signal jammers, collapse Anya's local communication lines, and reroute the location feed through our trap server. It should have worked. But nothing about Isaac ever went according to plan. The station was cold, echoing with the memories of trains long gone. We set the stage just after sundown. A rusted bench. A signal post. Isaac sat alone, clutching a satchel with a decoy flash drive. I stayed hidden behind a shipping crate, earpiece connected. Eleanor's voice whispered through the calm, "We've got visual. Black van, West Gate. 2 hostels. Masked." I whispered, "Stay calm, Isaac. Say your line when you see her." He didn't answer. "Isaac, do you copy?" Still nothing. Eliska's voice snapped through, "She's here." And then she stepped into view. Anya. Wearing black gloves. No mask. Her hair tied back like a surgeon entering an OR. She approached Isaac slowly, cautiously, like she was approaching something sacred. "Hello, my son," she said. He didn't move. "Do you know who I am?" "Yes." "Do you trust me?" "No." She smiled, like it amused her. "You were meant for more than this. They'll make you ordinary." Isaac stood, still holding the bag. "They told me the truth." "No," she said calmly. "They told you their truth. I want you to decide yours. I don't want to hurt anyone." "You already did," she whispered. He blinked. She stepped closer and slid a knife, small, curved, sharp as guilt, onto the bench beside him. "If you want to leave with me, use this." "Why?" he asked. "Because blood seals legacy." My heart pounded. I moved, ready to break cover. But then Isaac picked up the knife, turned toward the shadows, and stared straight at me. "Eliska," I hissed. "Abort, he sees us." "No," Eleanor snapped. "He knew we were here the whole time." Isaac stepped forward. Slowly. Deliberately. "Mother," he said, facing Anya. "You always said a legacy must be earned." "Yes," she whispered, smiling. He raised the knife and plunged it into her shoulder. Anya gasped, fell backward onto the tracks, blood spreading across her coat. Isaac stood over her, silent. Then he turned, held up the satchel, and shouted, "Phoenix." The signal burst, lit up the sky. Our jammers activated. Her van lost connection. Our drones swarmed in. Eliska moved first, gun trained on her men. Eleanor restrained Anya, bleeding but alive. I ran to Isaac, took the knife from his hand before it could slip again. He looked up at me, calm as ever. "I didn't kill her." "No," I said, shaking. "You didn't. But I could've." Back at Eliska's, we locked the flash drive in a Faraday box. Eleanor began uploading pieces of the ledger to the global press under anonymous accounts. Anya, sedated and chained, was locked in the bunker beneath the house. But Isaac, he sat on the roof. Alone. I climbed up and sat beside him. He didn't speak for a long time. Then finally he whispered, "Do you think I'm like her?" I looked at him carefully. "You have her mind, but not her heart. And Gregory? You have his blood, but not his chains." He nodded, slow and solemn. "She thought I'd burn the world," he said. "But I didn't." "No," I whispered. "You held the match and chose not to strike." The next morning, Eleanor found the chains undone. Anya was gone. No broken locks. No cut wires. No camera footage. Just one thing left behind in the concrete bunker, a note, handwritten in red ink. "He was never yours. He was always mine. See you at the chapel." There was no signature. She didn't need one. Eliska lost it. She was drugged. Bound. That cell was sealed with 3 inches of steel, and yet, I said, holding up the note, she walked out like it was her home. Eleanor was already digging through her files. What chapel? There's nothing in the estate records. Nothing in Prague. Isaac looked up from his seat at the window. I know where she means. We all turned to him. She used to take me there. At night, when I was little. Said it was where truth kneels and power is born. It's in Kutnora. A chapel made of bones. Eleanor's eyes widened. The Sedlec ossuary. Skulls. Femurs. Chandelier of the dead, Isaac murmured. She said one day she'd bring you there. I froze. She told you that? He nodded. Said it was the place you'd finally understand her. My hands trembled slightly. Not from fear, from the certainty that she had never left anything to chance. The ossuary wasn't just a hiding place. It was the endgame. We drove in silence. Eliska loaded a pistol. Eleanor tracked all comms in the area. Anya had gone dark, no signal trail, no heat map. Isaac sat beside me, strangely calm, clutching something in his pocket. The flash drive. He had taken it from the Faraday box before I could stop him. I wanted to ask him why, but I didn't want to hear the answer. We arrived at sunset. The chapel loomed like a mausoleum ripped from time, ornate gates, ancient stone, windows glazed in dirt and dust. Inside, skulls watched us from every corner. Bones lined the walls like warnings. She stood at the altar, waiting, alone. Clothed in black, barefoot, her arms spread like a prophet awaiting her crucifixion. I stepped forward first. You ran. I rose, Anya corrected. Eleanor, gun drawn, flanked my left. Eliska covered the exit. Isaac stayed behind, his decision. For now. You killed Dana, I said. She gave me what I needed, Anya said softly. And I gave her the end she feared most, irrelevance. You lied to Isaac. You used him. I shaped him. You think children survive the world by kindness? He would have been crushed by it. I gave him armor. He doesn't want your legacy. She laughed quietly. He has no choice. I moved closer. Yes, he does. And then I stepped aside. Isaac walked down the aisle of bones. Drive in one hand. Knife in the other. He stopped just a few feet from her. She smiled, proud. You came. Because I needed to decide for myself, he said. Anya nodded. That's all I ever wanted. He looked at the flash drive. At the knife. At the bones surrounding him. I don't hate you, he said. I don't want you to, she whispered. I understand why you did it. She reached for his hand. Then come with me. He didn't flinch. But he didn't move either. Instead, he knelt down. Placed the flash drive at her feet. And then he snapped it in half. The plastic cracked. The circuitry popped. The light died. Anya went still. No scream. No panic. Just quiet devastation. Isaac, she whispered. What have you done? He looked her in the eyes. I ended the legacy. She staggered, as if struck. Her breath caught. And then she collapsed to her knees. You were supposed to be more. I am, he said softly. Just, not yours. Eleanor moved forward. It's over, Anya. Eliska raised her pistol. Anya didn't resist. She just stared at the shattered remains of her plan and smiled through her tears. Then let it be over. Anya didn't resist arrest. She didn't scream, beg, or speak. Eliska cuffed her. Eleanor locked down the perimeter. I sat beside Isaac in the back of the car, the smell of crumbled plastic from the shattered drive still lingering in the air. He hadn't cried. Hadn't flinched. He had simply ended it. Or so we thought. We left her in a secure holding chamber deep within the old Krumlov fortress, a decommissioned Cold War facility Eliska had access to through one of Gregory's oldest aliases. No outside lines. No press. Just us and her. That night, I brought her food. I shouldn't have. She was sitting calmly, legs crossed, hands folded, as though waiting for communion. You came, she murmured. You owe him the truth. She tilted her head. He already has it. No, I said coldly. He has your version. Now I want everything. She chuckled softly, almost like a lullaby. Then she stood and walked to the far wall. Slowly, she lifted the corner of the cot's mattress, pulled out an envelope, handed it to me. "Open it somewhere quiet," she said. "Why?" "Because what's inside will make you question why you fought so hard to stop me." I hesitated, then took it. "Is it more blackmail? More files?" "No," she said. "It's a birth certificate." My breath caught. "Isaac's?" "No." She smiled. "Yours." Back at Aliska's estate, I opened it alone. I sat in the library, fireplace flickering low, Isaac sleeping upstairs. Eleanor stood guard outside the door but didn't come in. I unfolded the paper with hands that didn't feel like mine. At the top, birth record, Registrar of Vital Documents, Oslo, Norway name, Helena Marius mother, Eva Marius father, unknown below it, a second page. DNA cross-match authorization. And then the note, handwritten in Anya's delicate cursive, "Your mother died in childbirth. Gregory adopted you." He erased Eva. "He named himself your father, but he never was. Not legally. Not biologically. But he raised you in silence, because Eva was my sister." I read the words again. And again. Anya was my aunt. I dropped the paper like it burned me. It made sense. The pull she had over me. The strange familiarity. The way she always whispered, "You were the one he never broke." Because I wasn't just another woman. I was blood. I told Eleanor first. She didn't speak for a long time. Then she said, "It doesn't change who you are." "No," I whispered. "But it changes everything else." That night, I went to Isaac. He was awake, seated by the window. "Couldn't sleep?" I asked. He shook his head. "I know why she wanted me," he said quietly. "I know more now too." He looked at me. "You're not just my guardian." "No. You're part of her." "Yes. But I'm not her. And neither are you." He nodded once. "Then who am I?" I reached into my coat, handed him the other document in the envelope. A sealed file labeled, "Isaac, level red identity seal, only you can open it," I said. He held it for a long time, then tucked it into his chest pocket without opening it. "I'll wait," he said, "until I know I'm ready." And somehow, that was the bravest thing I'd ever seen him do. The next morning, Anya was gone. No forced entry. No tunnel. Just a single surveillance clip, 30 seconds long. Her sitting on her cot, smiling at the camera, saying only, "You can't erase a legacy if you don't know where it began." And then the screen went black. She vanished like a shadow before sunrise. And somewhere, a new chapter had already begun. We searched every inch of the fortress. No broken locks. No footprints. No tampered wires. Just silence. And absence. Anya had vanished without a trace for the second time. "She had help," Eleanor said bitterly, pacing the war room. "There's no way she escaped without inside access." "But no one knew she was here," Aliska argued. "This place is scrubbed from every map." Isaac sat at the far end of the table, staring at nothing. He hadn't spoken in hours. The sealed file bearing his identity lay unopened beside him. I didn't push him. I was too consumed by the whispering truth clawing at my ribs. If Anya had disappeared again, it meant she was already 2 steps ahead. Again. We were chasing ghosts. But ghosts didn't leave behind fingerprints. Anya had. Aliska found them in Gregory's ledger. Hidden beneath a false transaction log, encrypted messages dated 2 years ago. Sent not to Isaac. Not to any known associate. But to a contact labeled only Eden. We decrypted the name, traced the IP. The address pointed to a facility just outside Lyon, France. It was an abandoned orphanage. But 2 months ago, it reopened under a new NGO, the Eden Project. Founded by a woman named, and this turned my stomach, Lena Graves. Not me. An imposter. A forged identity built using fragments of my records, my DNA trail. The same kind of identity Anya had crafted for Isaac. But this one had no age. No gender. No photo. Just status, active. Eleanor and I flew to Lyon that same night. We left Aliska with Isaac. I made her promise, if I don't return, you protect him. And if she ever comes near him again, she won't, Aliska said. Not while I still breathe. The orphanage was pristine. Not like a place for children. More like a training ground. Disguised as a charity-funded school for displaced youth, the Eden Project operated in full secrecy, with no press access, no visitors allowed. Until I walked in, using the forged Lena Graves ID. The guards let me pass without hesitation. The woman at the front desk looked up and smiled. "You're early," she said. "For what?" I asked. Her smile widened. "For the next phase." She handed me a folder. Inside, a curriculum, daily schedules, discipline codes, and at the back, a list of children. 30 names. Each assigned a number, each with a personal file, and all of them marked with the same red bird insignia we thought Isaac alone carried. One in particular made my hands go cold. Name, Michael. Age, 9. Origin, unknown. Training phase, advanced status, active, embedded. As in, already placed. "Where is he now?" I asked, trying to steady my voice. The receptionist tilted her head. "Michael," she said. "He left 3 days ago." "Left where?" But she only smiled. "I'm sorry, Miss Graves. That's above your level." My stomach twisted. I stormed out, Eleanor trailing me. Back at the car, I tossed the folder onto the dash. She didn't want a legacy, I said. She wanted a network. Eleanor flipped through the papers. "It's not just about power. She's seeding children everywhere. One weapon was never enough." We didn't speak the rest of the drive. Back in Prague, I sat with Isaac on the balcony. I told him everything. About Michael. About Eden. About the red birds spreading like wildfire. He listened. Quiet. Still. And then he finally picked up the sealed file that had sat unopened for days. "Do you want to know what it says?" he asked. I didn't answer. He opened it. Inside, 2 pages. One with a DNA breakdown. And one with a name. Isaac read it out loud. "Name at birth, Isaac Vaughn. Son of Evelyn Vaughn." I gasped. "Aliska," I whispered. "He's her grandson." "She never knew," Isaac said. "Gregory stole me before she could." And then he looked at me. "I'm not Anya's." "No. I'm not yours either." "No, Isaac. But I'm mine." He held the paper over the candle beside him and burned it, letting go of every label, and becoming something terrifyingly powerful, free. Before you scroll away, I need you to hear this. If you've ever been lied to, betrayed by someone who should have protected you, or forced to survive a war you never asked for, this story was for you. Please like, comment, and subscribe if it touched you, especially if you're someone who's had to claw your way back from someone else's darkness. We didn't chase her anymore. We didn't run either. We waited. Because sometimes, the final battle doesn't happen on a battlefield, it happens in silence. When the war is already over, but the world hasn't realized it yet. Isaac wasn't a weapon now. He was a boy with a choice. And she had to face what that looked like. She came to us. 2 days after the Eden revelation. Alone. No guards. No theatrics. Just Anya, standing in the ruins of Aliska's courtyard like a widow returning to the grave of a life she once ruled. "I didn't come to fight," she said softly. "I don't believe you," Eleanor said, gun raised. "Then shoot," Anya whispered. "It doesn't change what's already begun." Isaac stepped forward. "You trained me to destroy the world. I trained you to change it." "No," he said. "You shaped me with fear, not belief." "You were born from belief," she snapped. "Everything I did was for yourself," he finished. Anya's eyes flickered, then lowered. "I wanted to build something that outlived me," she whispered. "You already did," I said, stepping beside Isaac. "But it wasn't what you planned." "We exposed Eden. It's being shut down. The files are public now, press, governments, Interpol. Everyone's watching. You won't hide again." She looked at me then, not with anger, but with a strange, hollow pride. "You won't be able to stop it all." "No," I agreed. "But we can bury the part of it that began with you." Eleanor walked up and handed her a document. A full confession. A plea deal. Not for mercy, just for truth. "If you sign this," Eleanor said, "you end the network. Your codes. Your assets. You sever the limbs you spent decades growing." Anya looked at the paper. Then at Isaac. Then at me. "You really think one boy can undo me?" I stepped back. "No," I said. But one man can choose not to become you. Isaac took the paper and a pen and placed them in her hands. Sign it, he said. End it. And after a long, terrible silence, she did. They took her away in silence. No headlines. No handcuffs on the news. Just a black van and the quiet echo of footsteps that would never return. 3 weeks later, the Eden Project dissolved. Interpol arrested 5 of its operators. 30 children were placed into protective care. And the red bird stopped flying. Isaac asked me once, in the middle of the night, what would have happened if we never stopped her? She would have raised fire, I said, and believed it was light. He nodded, then looked up at the stars, and said, then I'll raise something else. Eliska passed 6 months later, peacefully in her sleep. She left the estate to Isaac, and a letter that read, I thought I lost everything, but I lived long enough to see that the worst of our blood can end with the best of our choices. Isaac is 17 now. He doesn't use his last name. He doesn't call Anya mother. He teaches kids how to code, how to trace corruption, how to disappear if they need to survive something no child should face. Sometimes he still walks through the graveyard at Sedlec, where bones hang above the pews, where legacies once whispered from skulls. But now, they're silent, because he buried them. If this story moved you, tell us in the comments. Have you ever been forced to carry someone else's darkness? Have you ever had to unlearn the legacy you were born into? Subscribe to Whispers and Wills for more powerful stories of women and survivors who refuse to stay broken.